Welcome back to the TCK Diaries. I'm Shira.
And I'm Elsie.
In today's episode, we're diving into something a lot of TCKs deals with, but don't always talk about: languages. So let's get into it.
For many TCKs, it's extremely common for them to be bilingual, multilingual. It's just basically part of the package. We always have to learn our passport, the language of our passport country, plus the language of our host country. And in this case, Shira's passport country would be Israel, so she speaks Hebrew.
Yeah.
And our host country is France, so we both speak French. Yes. And so, Shira, I'd like to ask you, how many languages do you speak?
Okay, so I speak Hebrew, French, and English. And those three languages I speak fluently.
Yeah. So I speak just English and French. I don't speak the languages in Uganda. That's something I would really, really like to learn, but given that I may not really continue going to school in Uganda, it may not be very possible for me to learn them. But it's still something I would really like to do to feel more connected to my culture. And another interesting one is, what language would you dream in?
Oh, okay, so this is obviously the title of our podcast episode. So I actually have thought about it, and I dream in Hebrew. Which is very interesting, because if you would ask me what language I count in, it would be English. So it's very weird.
Yeah.
But
had you ever had a bilingual dream?
No. Have you?
Yes, I actually have. It was quite odd, but it just randomly happened one day. And when I woke up, I hadn't really registered that it was bilingual until I was telling somebody about it. And that was when I was like, wow, I really assimilated that into this language. I really got into it. And also with just talking to yourself, if you're just explaining a math question or something, what language do you do that in?
I think I do it in Hebrew. I think I talk to myself in Hebrew.
Yeah.
How do you talk to yourself in English as well?
I talk to myself, and it depends on circumstance. If the whole day I had been speaking English, then I would be talking to myself in English. If the whole day I had been speaking French, then I would be talking to myself in French. Yeah.
No, yeah, it's really interesting how you always switch.
Yeah. But what language would you say you feel the most comfortable in? You don't feel like you need to be perfect, or which language do you feel that you need to be really perfect in, and you feel a lot of weight on your shoulders whenever you speak it?
I think I have a lot of pressure to speak Hebrew perfectly, and it really happens when I go to Israel and I hang out with my friends, and they always make a comment in the way I'm speaking Hebrew and the words I'm using, and I feel like that really made me have a lot of pressure and a lot of weight on my shoulders to really speak Hebrew perfectly.
Yes.
Do you have the same thing?
I have the same thing for English, but it's not the weight of speaking it perfectly. It's the weight of the accent that I do use while speaking.
Oh, the accent, yeah.
Because if I'm going to Uganda, I'll have my accent is too American. So it's oh, you're American, you're whitewashed, all these different things. And it's just oh, because it just feels weird to start talking to people now. Because it just feels oh, you have a white person accent, you know?
Yeah.
But then it's just the same everywhere. But then again, I don't exactly have an American accent to their standards. So it just feels always in the middle. Yeah.
And do you ever worry about forgetting one of your languages every time? Has this ever crossed your mind?
Yeah, I think it really did. When I used to live in a non-Francophone country, it really did come to me I really did not want to forget French, but I sadly was. So that's why moving back to France was really good for me and for my languages. But how about you?
Yeah, I worry about forgetting both French and Hebrew. But mostly Hebrew, because I think I only speak Hebrew with my family at home. And so my vocabulary is very limited, and the way I talk and the amount I talk is very limited. So I really worry about forgetting that. And also about French, because I feel like my French level has decreased significantly. But
Yeah. Also, with what you're saying with Hebrew and like having a small vocabulary, that's how I mainly feel for French, because it feels like I can kind of express myself, but not to my
but
full
it's very
ability.
limited.
Like
Yeah.
it's not like in English where I can say exactly what I want, exactly when I want to say it, exactly how I want to say it. So in French, it makes me feel like less articulate. Makes me feel like, in a way, dumber, because I can't really convey my feelings as efficiently as I would like to.
Yeah.
How do you feel with French?
Yeah, I think my vocabulary is always also very limited, because especially I moved to France, and French was the first language I learned. Well, Hebrew was the first language I learned, but after it was French. And so I feel a bit ashamed that I speak English better than French now. It's like this thing I have that I'm a bit ashamed. Also with Hebrew, that like I have a better level of English, even though I'm Israeli. You know, I'm supposed to speak Hebrew fluently, but I don't. So I think it's something that I think a lot of TCKs feel, that they're very ashamed. Like, do you feel ashamed that like you didn't learn?
Yeah, I do a lot, because I can't really connect with people in like in that way. So it just feels like always like an outsider looking in, when I shouldn't feel like that, because I grew up in Uganda from 0 to 10. I only left for the last 5 years, so it feels like so disconnected, even though I lived there my whole life, most of my life.
Yeah.
And also, another big thing that comes up is accents. Because sometimes you feel like you have to, well, both of us, we have American accents. We went to schools with American teachers, British teachers, so our accents are a bit of a mix of everything. But with some people, they don't really get that opportunity. So when they are learning that language, they'll probably have an accent. Like I have an accent for French.
Yeah.
Like you'll have an accent, and it can always make you feel worse, because it makes you feel like you're worse at the language,
when you're really not. It's just the accent.
It's just the accent, and people think down on you because of an accent. But in all reality, languages evolve and languages change.
Yeah.
Like, even the American accent is not technically correct English.
It isn't.
It comes from the British, and it's now American English. It was just people who didn't fully know how to speak English all coming together to make another accent.
Yeah.
But yeah, so with accents, it's just very difficult. You can't say one's worse or better than the other, even though it may be hard to feel confident with a certain accent. It's not something anybody should look down on you upon for the accent you speak on, or you look down upon yourself for how you speak.
Yeah. And so the first language you learned was English, right?
Yes.
Do you still feel as connected to it, or like?
Yeah, I still do feel as connected to English. I can't say that I ever won't be, because English is the primary language that I always speak. But how do you feel with that for Hebrew?
No, I don't think I'm still so connected to it. Even though it is the first language I learned, I don't feel a really good connection with it. I think I really lost my Hebrew over the years. So that's something I really struggle with.
Yeah.
We want to ask you guys a question.
If you could only keep one language you speak, which one would you choose and why?
Make sure to comment down below.
Thank you so much for listening to the TCK Diaries. We hope this episode made you think a little bit more about your languages, accents, and how they all come together to make who you are. Don't forget to follow us on Spotify, Instagram, and YouTube to stay updated on any new podcast episodes coming out.